Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. It's me, Owen Video. I'm glad to be back. I'm live streaming on YouTube, and this is a very exclusive YouTube event, by the way. I'm here with Dr. Carrie Rose, and Dr. Carrie,
yes, sir.
Fantastic individual. She's writing a book, and she's decided to include me in the book, which I think is incredibly perceptive.
Definitely.
And we're going to talk today about course completion, creating online courses from the perspective of getting people in the seats. How do you get them to do the coursework and get them to stick around and actually to create a course that I think is successful. So Dr. Carrie, we're excited to have you on the channel today, and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me and for such a warm introduction. Yeah, so I was getting my doctorate in educational leadership and writing my dissertation on professional development, which most online courses are either professional or personal development, when I was introduced to the online marketing space and saw it as a way to, to make money, to be a part of a business. But what I noticed was missing was some of that education piece in a lot of the courses that I was taking. So it really became my obsession to add that side of it.
Right.
I just a little backstory. I grew up, until I was 10 years old, I had selective mutism. I'm also dyslexic. So I didn't talk really until I was about 10.
Wow.
And what happened was I had one teacher that made such a huge impact and such a huge difference in my life that I went from not reading to the highest standardized test scores that school had seen in 1 year. So wow. Yeah, it became like a true obsession in me. Like, how does one person make that huge of a difference, and then everyone else just kind of hangs from the trays of mediocrity, like
right.
What's the difference? And so when I started looking at online courses, it became the same sort of thing. Like, how can we make them to that degree, to do something that really moves somebody? And then, how does it make more money for someone's business also? So my current research is in completion rates, just to that point.
I think that's really interesting. I'm an academic. I went to college and got my degree. I don't think you need a degree to be a successful entrepreneur.
True.
So I want to put that out there, or even a successful human to
right.
to that matter. But it's something that I wanted to do, and it's something that I did, and I did as much of that online as I could.
Mm-hmm.
Through college, I signed up with a lot of online courses because I was in, like media analysis, right? Which is essentially, how many Black people should be on the screen at one time to communicate a certain message, right? And I say that in sort of a shocking way because that's what media is. It's, how many should go what and where, when to communicate a certain message.
Right.
I wanted to learn about how to get 1 million views. You know what I mean? So I started taking online courses.
Mm-hmm.
and supplementing my university experience with that. So I find the work that you do really fascinating. I wanted to ask you, did you do a lot of online education when you were going through school?
When I was going through it, in my doctoral work, there were some courses that were online, but they were really bad.
Yeah.
It was more like, here's my stats lecture. I put the video up. You can listen.
Sometimes in academia,
mm-hmm.
an online course is sort of like the hack's way out, right? And my wife's a teacher, so I say it with the utmost respect, but my wife doesn't have an online portal. She has access to one, but she doesn't. And by the way, guys, we are talking about online courses for marketing and entrepreneurialism,
right.
But you got to understand, like, this is how we receive information. What I'm trying to help my wife to do is create an online course
mm-hmm.
that frees her, that liberates her from teaching it the school's way. You know what I mean? And instead, a teacher. So if you're a teacher, if you're out there, or if you're in a career where you're educating people and you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to go online, an online course is a great way to do it. And I think academics, it's a great way to get out of entrepreneurialism
mm-hmm.
or get out of the school system and get into entrepreneurialism. So that's just my bit there. I want to make sure that my audience knows, because we're a big marketing audience. We're talking a little bit about the school system, but it's online courses.
Right.
So with that, I'll stop talking. Carrie, I'll let you sort of take it from here.
Sure. Well, I wanted to get together with you because I have some questions for you. So, first of all, if someone was going to create their first online course, what suggestions would you give them?
The first thing that I would say to create an online course is to actually create the course. You know, a lot of people have said, and I agree, that an entrepreneur is somebody who jumps off a cliff and then builds a parachute on the way down. There's no doubt that an element of that has gone into my business and probably every business that's out there to some degree. Had I to do it again, I would have been building a course from the day that I opened up my business. And here's why. Because at some point, you're going to get tired of doing what you do. Even if you love it, you're going to mature, you're going to grow, and you're going to want to create a lifestyle for yourself that enables you to move on from what you're doing. And the only way to do that is to duplicate yourself, is to find a way to leverage the passion, the excitement, the activity, the production of other people, and build them into your success model. And a course does that. A course enables you to teach people what you know, and then allow them, you know, the platform for being profitable while you retain 10% of their earnings. So, you know, it's kind of like, hey, you start an online course and you say, look, you start making money. You can start doing this right away by selling this online course, or selling this or selling that. Another part of that is if you're going to hire employees. If you're going to hire employees, you're going to need training certifications. And an online course is exactly that. It is exactly that. It's a package that will teach your employees exactly what to do. You can hire better employees faster, train them faster, and move on and get open another store.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love what you're talking about at training. You know, I was just in a mastermind this weekend, and one of the things that they were recommending is anytime you do anything, film it. No matter what it is. If you're doing something for your business, film it, because you never know when you're going to want to outsource that one thing that you're doing.
You're absolutely right. And before you and I were talking, I was creating a guidebook for reaching out to influencers in the real estate space.
Nice.
Right? And I'm creating that workbook for my own marketing, but I want my team to handle that. Right? So film everything that you're doing and create processes. So the question was this is, what do you recommend? My advice was like to actually build out the course, actually have like, these are the 5 things I want someone to learn. And those 5 things need to be the 5 things that you directly don't want to do or need to move out of right now today. Right? A lot of times we start thinking about building an online course. Oh, I want people to get leads. And so I need them to learn this, and I need to learn this and this and this and this and this, all these different things. Right. It's 1 or 2 things at first, and then build out from there.
That's really smart. I love that point, because it seems like we're just overwhelming people with a lot of information and not really actually teaching it very well, you know, but if we could teach one thing really well, how much value is in that one thing? You know, that could make a huge difference for your audience. So what do you think prevents somebody from launching?
Either opportunity or failure to plan. For me, it was opportunity.
Okay.
Well, your question was fails them from launching?
Yes. Okay. So a lot of people come to me to help them build the content, and we'll build the content and then nothing happens. So I'm just curious from a marketing perspective, like what would stop somebody from going through with it?
Okay. I misunderstood the question. So let me rephrase my answer. What stops people plan? They spend all this time on this course that everyone is going to love. And they didn't spend any time building excitement or press or community around the course. And this is something that's not taught, I think, at the entrepreneur, the business owner level, at the chamber of commerce level. This is something, a product launch, you're going to have to go into, you're going to have to go into the advanced sections of the internet. But if you think about it like going for class president, it's the you want to take that same approach to your course, where you've got your course, you've got it ready to go. Even if it's like, I've launched a course with nothing other than 5 lesson plans, and I promoted it as live. It's going to be a live course, and we're going to go through these 5 things on this course. And then I did it, I recorded it, packaged it, and sold it again. You know, so you can start with almost nothing. But what I did in the interim was like running for class president, right? I was sort of telling people, hey, this is what I'm doing. Hey, I've got this in the books, in the works. And I'm building up some sizzle so that when I launched it, I had an actual launch plan. And my launch plan consisted of multiple different interviewers with existing thought leaders, right? So I reached out to thought leaders. I said, hey, can I interview you? They said, yes. I said, great. Here's my only thing is that, you email your list about the interview. And there's more to it, but
Sure.
They email their list about the interview. And then in the interview, I mention, I don't sell, but I say, hey, thank you. This is all brought to you by, the Video Masters Academy, where business owners learn YouTube from a business perspective. Kate Buck, great to see you here today. And then we jump into the interview. So you're just sort of dropping a line and you're putting it into people's ears. Have a launch plan. How are you building community around this launch, this product?
That's awesome. I actually interviewed Kate Buck for this book, and she interviewed me for Social Media Manager Pro.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So yes, she really is. That's great. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about launch. You talked a little bit about doing a seed launch in there also, like having a plan of what was going to happen, but not necessarily creating all of the content in the advance of it.
Right.
So more focusing on the marketing. Now, I've had some conversations, and there seems to be like two different camps as far as creating a course. So like for one camp, it is, I'm going to create the audience. I'm going to spend a year creating the audience, create the audience, build the audience, then ask them what the product is that they want. The other camp seems to be, I'm going to research really hard and find out where the marketing needs to happen, create the product, and then fill the bus with gas,
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself, or is there a combination of the two?
That's a great question. I actually sort of got into a little back and forth with Joe. I forget his last name. Joe from Content Marketing Institute. And I know that it's embarrassing that I forget his name because he's like the biggest guy in the industry. But this is a post-chemo thing, by the way. I went through chemo last year, and the memory is not what it used to be. So little things like that leave my mind. But he posted on LinkedIn that the right way to build an audience was to, build an audience and then poll the audience and then ask them what they want. I believe in that. I'm not against that. But what happens is you have sort of this credibility issue in my mind where you've got 25,000, 30,000 YouTube subscribers as an example, and you're broke. And so now you're scrambling in a sense. And even if you're not scrambling, you're sort of putting together a package around what people want, whether or not that thing is within your wheelhouse, right? So what happens is you get people creating content for which they are evangelists, but not practitioners. And what you get is you get a whole bunch of, small business owners tanking their business, buying a course that a person had no business teaching. So that's one example. The other example is the opposite. Is it's fine and everyone you grow big on YouTube and everyone says, I want to know how you get big on YouTube, and you teach what you know. That's one model. I'm not against it. For me, that's not how my model worked out. I instead had a passion for doing video. I saw nobody else teaching it. And so with only 6,000 subscribers, guys. With only 6,000 subscribers, I launched a course not on how to get big on YouTube, which is what everybody wanted, Carrie. Everybody wanted how to get big on YouTube. Right. And I'm thinking, I went a little deeper and I go, you guys want to go big on YouTube. What you're really saying is you want to make money with YouTube. That's why you want to go big, right? So instead, how to make money on YouTube with almost 0 subscribers, right? So I sort of took a look at the marketplace and said, what's the market looking on? And I actually went with my own gut and I said, I actually know better than the client, what the client wants. And it proved to be a valuable thing. Now, that's one way. I don't think that can be duplicated. I think that I was in the space for a long time. I knew web design. I knew Facebook marketing. There's things that I knew that contributed to my credibility there.
Right.
So I don't think that's duplicable. But here's who my message is for. My message is for the working mom, like my wife, like Sydney Wardle, who contacted me today. Sorry, Sydney, that's your whole name on the internet. She's all over Instagram anyway. That's like, I've got this thing that I do. I've got my job, but I want to make money. I want to stay at home. I want to like be with my kids and be with my husband. You know, my wife loves working, but we would rather that she work here on our stuff,
right,
than work on the government stuff, you know? So that's a goal that we're working for. And here's my advice is that you can take what knowledge and what passion you have now. Maybe it's teaching like my wife's, and you can package that into a course that people will buy, right? Sydney, someone like Sydney, who's got like a Beachbody MLM thing going on, but wants to get into a clothing line. You can take, you know, your fitness stuff and automate that through a course so that you can focus more on the new clothing line, and vice versa. So you can do it either way. My message is for the person that already has a talent, already has a skill. I'm telling you, there's a marketplace for it on the internet. You just have to find it.
I think there's a lot of brilliant things that you said there, but there's two that really resonated with me. And the two that really resonated with me was one, it's authentic to you. You know, like when you're talking about the wheelhouse thing, like if it's not you, then why are you teaching it? And I think that's something that's really important to note. I had somebody reach out to me and wanted to do a course with me. And I was like, oh, okay, I thought he wanted me to help him build a course because I do that. But he wanted us to like, you know, split ad spend and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, who are you and what are you about? And he's like, I'm a nutritionist. I'm like, so we're going to do a course on nutrition and course creation? Like, this isn't making any sense. Like, or are you just wanting to evolve yourself into something that sells, which is something else entirely?
And I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I'm a businessman. I'm a capitalist. So I am all about the guy that says, I have no interest in horse manure, but I see a big need to clean up all the horse manure. So I'm going to start a business, you know? There's a guy, I forget, he's a friend of a friend who's a trash man, but he found a system for getting rid of the trash, you know? He says, man, I had no idea I would retire from garbage. Right. But he built a business around it. So I'm not against that. It's not what I did.
Sure.
And it's, you know, it's not necessarily my message, but it's out there and it's available.
Right. At the very least, they should know something about the shovel. You know, if they're going to create a business around the horse maneuver, they should know something about the shovel. The other part that I really thought was really brilliant in there and resonated a lot was like, you're looking for the why behind the why. So if they're saying they want this, what is the reasoning behind that? So
that's a big one.
That was really brilliant as well. So, you know, my interest in interviewing you especially is around like course completion rates. Like 3%, according to Seth Godin, 3% is the average course completion rate right now, which is like, that's 97% of people that are buying the online courses not finishing them. My main concern is how that affects you as a business owner growing a tribe and upsells. You know, if you're just interested in doing a one-off course, then it may not be that big of a deal to you other than word of mouth marketing. But if you're interested in building an online business, how does something like that affect somebody? And then any suggestions you might have for people that are wanting to create something that really lasts?
Yeah. I think that creating something that lasts is a combination of opportunity and passion, right? You've got to, your thing will last if you are passionate about it and you kick up dust and you make things move. Think about this, guys. Santeria, right? I don't practice Santeria, right? That was a cult of people. Hail Bop was a cult of people that had some crazy whacked out beliefs. So the idea that you can make, you know, 20 grand a month teaching quilting all of a sudden just became a lot more reasonable, right? There is a marketplace for you to teach what you love and teach what you know. Moms across the country are making money on YouTube teaching canning and lunch prep through their YouTube channels and their vlogs, you know? So there's something to that. Now, you talked about attrition rate, right?
Yes.
Your attrition rate is going to be I want to write some of these notes down because here's my thoughts on 3% of people only finishing your course. Here's a big problem with that is that we're creating courses based on the words people are saying, but not on their actual need, right? So, we'll see people create a course called Facebook video ads, right? Which is, I'm going to teach you Facebook video ads, and they deliver precisely on that promise. As I taught you how to do Facebook ads. What they didn't teach you was, how to build like a company using Facebook ads, or how to use video. And the viewer may have really been looking for Facebook video ads. What I'm really looking for is, how do I use online marketing? And they see Facebook ads as sort of like a way out, right? So I think that the reason only 3% of people are buying or finishing is because they bought a course that didn't meet their needs. Like, not saying they didn't like it. They could have loved it. I bought a lot of courses that I liked, but I was like, I don't need this. I thought I would. I bought a whole course on Twitter, and then when I got it, I was like, I don't need this. Like, this is not necessarily my audience. Right. Is the Twitter audience, So I think that's a big part of it. I think another part of it is, here's my thing on that. In order to avoid that, I've set up a model that's higher end, right? It's a higher end. I don't have a $39 course, right? That anyone can buy, no one can look at. What I have is a course that essentially you've got to be qualified to take. Like, you've got to have gone through some systems with me, right? You've got to at least spent 1 hour with me on a webinar. And I'm not talking about a pitch webinar, although that is what I do. The webinar is 1 hour of training. And then after that, it's like, now guys, I want to show you the next step, right? And then in the next step, they're qualified now to even enter into this course. And I want to say, hey, to all the viewers watching right now, we've really had an increase in viewers in the last, 2 minutes or so. We got 10 people on. So I just want to say hey to you guys, and I hope you're getting some value. If you've got questions, post questions and tag us, and we'll do our best to respond. So my attrition rate is less, but I do have an attrition rate. Okay. My attrition rate is less because you're qualified coming into the course, and there's a higher price point on the course, right? So it's not $30 that you forgot about when your next paycheck comes in. You feel my course every single month, and because of that, you're motivated to stay on board. Okay, when my clients don't stick around, they don't stick around because they didn't do the work, and they're not getting the results, and they feel left behind. Right. Okay. So can I comment on how we increase our attrition, or decrease the attrition rate? Please. In order for us, now my first course, the very first course I launched with, like I said, 5 calls. I really had more than that, but just to keep it simple, I had 5 calls in my mind, but I sold a year course. And I knew that I'd had 5 weeks to come up with the rest, right? We had a huge attrition rate on that course. And I think the reason for that was all the reasons that I just mentioned. It really was, how do I get more leads? Not necessarily how do I get more leads on YouTube? I think some of these clients came in and they're like, YouTube's not for me. I'm more of a blogger kind of guy. I'm more of a Twitter guy. So what we looked at that and we thought, how can we decrease attrition rate? And what we did was we built community into the course. You have to build community into the course, because entrepreneurs will get themselves back up a certain amount of times. But when those times expire, entrepreneurs and everybody, like Michael Thacker, the realtor from Louisville, who's a good friend of the channel. It's good to see you, Michael. They need the team to come pick them back up again. And this is a big thing missing from entrepreneurialism. We've all been sort of burned, and we have heartache in entrepreneurialism. Like, we're entrepreneurs because someone fired us, someone made fun of us in school, or we were always different. And I am all of those things. I'm all of those things. That's why we're entrepreneurs. So we want to do it on our own. Maybe you can, but don't put your clients in that position. Build community around the course. So instead now of doing like these calls, like I had these calls, which were live calls. what we did for the next round was we added in a Facebook forum.
Mm-hmm.
So now we had a Facebook forum, and we tried to implement a buddy system. The buddy system didn't work out too well, but what did happen was it was community. People started like talking to each other and saying, how are you doing? How am I doing? And we had sort of people to sort of like, when you fall, you know, someone to kind of pick you back up again and say, hey, we're doing this together, man. We're doing this together. Now, some people will still fall, but here's what they have to fall. They have to actually push someone off and say, no, I don't want to move forward with you.
Uh-huh.
And that's what it takes to quit a course where you have community. So build community, decrease attrition rate.
So what are your tips for building the community inside of the Facebook group? Because I mean, just having a Facebook group isn't really going to create that. So what have you done differently inside of that?
Great question. You have to stoke the fire. You cannot wait for your people to catch fire. You have to drive everyone to the Facebook page. So when your clients call you and they say, hey, Owen, because I have an open messenger policy on Facebook. It's like, you can messenger me whenever you want, but I am not obligated to respond whenever you call me, right? So
Right.
I have an open messenger policy. So when somebody says, oh, and I'm having this problem with my video, I say, great question, ask it in the group. You know, and when that question gets asked in the group, I go, hey, Dawn, reminds me of that problem you had, or hey, Scott, you know, reminds me of that problem you had.
Right.
What did I tell you guys? And they jump in. But you see how like I'm involved in all of that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm involved in pushing them over there. And then once they're there, I'm involved in sort of like getting the fire going. And you have to do that, and you have to be committed to it. Right? Because it will take off. Your social leaders, every team, every course will have its like leaders that wanna like replace you. And that's good. But you also have to limit that. You also have to be like, I'm glad you're excited, but until you get 1 million views, you're still a student.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think that,
you know,
I'm sorry?
leveraging those people, those excited people, leveraging them to communicate and be your ambassadors. You know, without, you know, you have to kind of watch them, but leverage those people to get conversations going.
And when you're getting started and nobody's talking inside of the group and it's like crickets in there, is that the same method that you use, or is there anything else that you start to initially light the fire?
Yeah, great question. Regular posting. You have to post regularly in the group. And you got to have a pinned post, right? So there has to be regular communication. There has to be ritual to what you're doing. Okay. So for me, I'm live every Monday morning in the group. Ash Daniels says, even when you have 1 million views, you're still a student. It's true, because you can get 1 million views without having 1 million subscribers. So that's something else to strive for. But as I was saying, you know, yeah, absolutely. Post in the group every Monday. Respond to every comment in the group. And this is for a beginner. This is for somebody just starting out. You have to be excited about that. You also have to be posting regular non-promotional content. That's like, hey guys, insider info, right? So I do that. I have it in my alarm on Tuesday mornings, post in YouTube group, you know, and it hasn't been called the YouTube group in like 2 years. So that kind of gives you, that's how long it's been in my phone,
right?
Is to do these things. So yeah, you feel it when it's stagnant, and when it's stagnant, you have to inject new life into it. You know, a contest, a live video, do something to say this group is still here. But to avoid that, you know, have a regular schedule, a ritual, a rhythm in place.
Now, I'm also wondering, because we were talking before about teaching like 1 or 2 things and teaching them well. So you've got ways to splinter your content into multiple courses when you look at things in that manner. Yeah. So does it matter if they, not does it matter, but how important do you think it is if they finish one to go to the next one? Or is it?
I think it's super important. I think that you have to have a value ladder that your subscribers, that your followers can climb, right? And it starts with a free offer. Maybe the free offer, your next step up is your webinar, and then it's your course, your 5-module course. Well, what about the people that want to go beyond that? You got to have the next 2 modules, you know, and I use ClickFunnels for everything. I love ClickFunnels. I'm a big fan of it. You can easily add new products and add new modules. Guys, are you ready to take the next 5 steps with me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you could be the 5 guy, you could be, you know, or gal, you could be the 5 spot, you know, hey, where it's internet marketing and 5 steps each, and each course is $97, you know, and you want a new module. Great. Here's the new module.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's $97, or it's $97 recurring. And then every payment cycle, the new course launches, you know, the new module launches. So having modules, right? Well-defined modules and a progression of products that goes to a product value that you can't even fathom selling. And you never will, but it keeps your mind focused on what's next, right? What's next? So you've got this group that's in your course, your 5-module course. You even sold them a second 5 modules that you made over summer vacation. And now it's Black Friday and people are done with that and they want more. I'd say put together a 3-part webinar event for $397. And, you know, break that 3 webinars into 3 bullet points. Each of those 3 bullet points, put those into a 9-module course for December. Sell it live because you don't have time to pre-record maybe before December. So you just sell it live. But you just made $397 times 10 or however many people upgraded to that. Plus, on that 3-module course, you created your new mastermind level, which is now $10,000. A year ago, you never thought you'd sell that. But this year, 2 people bought it.
So when you look at selling a course, do you use, I mean, I know you're using video, so is it all organic to make the sales on the course, or do you do some paid or some semblance of the two?
All my courses are paid, right? You can access my free content across the web and across the internet. But if you want to work with me and get my time, this is the value that I bring to the table, right? That's another thing is you got to have, that's more about like being unique. But what's unique about me is that my content, you actually get me live, right? Versus pre-recording and then ping me on Facebook, whatever.
I think I may have phrased that incorrectly. I meant paid advertising. Do you use any paid advertising, or is all of your organic?
Yeah, paid advertising is the only way to build a business. You cannot build a business on organic SEO and organic Facebook posts. That doesn't mean you can't get leads and can't grow. But think about what you're saying is you're saying, I'm going to do all this back end stuff and wait for the leads. As opposed to paid ads. Paid ad says, if I put $100 here, I get $200 back in sales. So I'm just going to keep putting $100 over here. That way you control your business, right? So you can't build a business on organic growth, or you can't control the growth of a business.
Right, which I think is really important to say.
Yeah. Because I mean, I've done everything on organically up until about a year ago, and now we understand the value of Facebook ads and YouTube ads. The only ads we run right now, but I'd like to explore that, even getting into even Twitter ads. You know, somebody's clicking on Twitter ads, and if we can spend 100 on Twitter and get 200 back, then
you're good.
Let's do it.
Go to the customer store.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Trying to think if I have any other questions for you. You've been like so hugely valuable. Is there anything that I'm forgetting to ask?
You know, that's a great question, which in my mind, I'm really saying, what else do you want to say, Owen? But, you know, like we could all be honest there. But I want to say hey to Ash. Ash says, Owen, thanks for what you're doing. I say, hey, thanks for watching. You know, I'm a big entrepreneur. I want you guys to like live the life of your dreams. I never envisioned myself. My mom told me I'd be a trash man and just focus on other things. My parents were very committed to their religion. And I'm, you know, I'm not I'm a man of faith. I love the Lord. But I wasn't committed to their religion. Anyway, that's all into me. I was angry that my mom didn't stress like how good I could be. She said, only thing that matters is our religion. You're going to be a trash man anyway. Don't worry about it.
Wow.
Internet is, so I rejected her my whole life. You know what I mean? I haven't spoken to my mom in 20 years for, it turns out she's a prescription drug addict, and I'm giving you guys all this like insider information to my mom. but it fueled me.
Right.
I will not be a trash man.
Right.
So if you're out there and you're thinking like, I've got a part-time job, how do I get out of it? Like, take what you know of your part-time job. What did you learn there? Do you even know? I didn't learn anything here. It's a crappy job, or no one's going to be interested in this. And I clean medical supplies. Well, let me ask you about this. What do you know about working in the medical field? Do you know how to get a job in the medical field? Yeah, I got every job I've ever applied for. Well, how about you do a course on how to get every job you've ever applied for? What is the thing you're good at? Turn it into a course. You know, turn it into a course and put it out there. Use Facebook organically to just tell people about it, you know? So is there anything you forgot to ask? You know, there's so much we could cover. I think you asked a lot of questions I would normally not ask. But I would say this in terms of building a course that people want to be a part of. It's about you and it's about your passion. You know, there are people that never once considered video until they saw me talking about it and they heard me talk about it in such a way. So in a lot of ways, you are endowed with the transcendent ability to impact people's lives and to impact their family tree. You know, if you would just say something about it. Take yourself more seriously. Have more confidence in the things that you're good at. You know what you're good at. You ask your brain a question, it will answer. Ask yourself, what am I good at? Your brain will tell you. And then the next step is, how do you turn that into a package, a 5-part series that you can sell for $97? People will buy it. And I'll help you. Go to YouTube, search my channel, subscribe, and maybe join us in one of our upcoming courses.
Awesome. I love that. Ask your brain and it will answer. Such great advice. No, 100%. And sometimes if you can't hear the truth, listen to your heart.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, the heart will tell you where your passion lies.
Right.
But that doesn't mean if your passion is in helping people, you've got to connect your heart now to your head and say, how do I connect people in a way that can make me money? And it's okay to do that. It's okay to find a way to serve the homeless, right? Which my wife and I are doing this Friday. Again, we found this new community that we go feed the homeless and it's fun.
Awesome.
Is there a way that you could do that? You could teach people how to get involved and you could charge $29 for the info. I don't know. You got to connect them. But I think if you listen to your heart and say, what am I passionate about? What am I good at? You know, you'll get a good answer. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to come on your show and for having me today and for taking the time to answer all my questions and everything. So I'll be putting your information together with other interviews into a book rather quickly. And so please let me know if I can include anything in there for my audience and, you know, get that in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Owen Video, thevideospot.net. But you've got time, you know. We'll make sure all that's correct. And Dr. Carrie Rose, great to have you. Great to have you on the show. I want to say hey to Nashville Landscaping, Michael Thacker, Ash. Michael, it's time for you to start the course.
Uh-oh.
That's your next step.
You've been told, Michael.
He knows where he's at.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for joining us. And Dr. Carrie, I want to thank you for coming on and being my guest today. You're an absolute delight. I hope you'll join us again.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, guys, for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends that need that extra kick in the butt. That's what I'm here to do. I'm Owen Video. Talk to you guys soon.